Welcome to SaaStock How To Series, in which we aim to answer questions passed and posed by our community. I'm Will Briding, VP of Sales at SaaStock, which helps SaaS companies get traction, grow and scale through our community, conferences and content. And today I'm joined by Jacco, vanderkooij, who is the founder and CEO of the world's leading sales advisory firm, Winning by Design. Jacco, pleasure to have you here with us today. The question asked by our community is how to change your sales model.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure and a treat. What a great question. How do you change your sales model? I think that, what we got to think first is that two fundamental changes that we are looking at. The number one today thing that we need to look at is that people don't like to be sold, and therefore it is not a sales process. If you simply look at how many people love being sold, it's very few. It's like a rare person that enjoys that experience. Number two, what we see is that when people are being sold, they do love to buy. They love it. They love buying more than most other things in life. And so if we think of the sales process and how it's changing, we shouldn't think of it as a sales process. We should think of it primarily first as a buying process because people love to buy. So instead, we're going to help them to buy. That's number one. Number two, we have to realize that people today love to buy what we call impact. They don't buy the value of things, they buy of the impact. Now I'll describe that very quickly. Value is what you buy when you buy a car. Because the car is not what you really want. You want to do something with that car. You don't want to have it just sit it in your driveway or in front of your house or in a parking garage. You want to do something with it. Now, once you're going to do something with it, you still have to pay road tax, gasoline, parking space. You have to drive there. You have to do all these things. Therefore, when you buy a car, you buy the value of the car. And people don't love to buy value of things. That's not what they're mainly interested in. What they want to buy is the impact that comes with it. And so what they're looking for is they're looking for an Uber ride or another form of ride sharing. When they buy a ride share, they buy the impact. Deliver me at this point. Deliver me within the next 30 minutes at this location. That is what we refer to as impact. So one, people don't love to be sold, they love to buy. And number two, when they buy, they want to buy impact. This has changed in many ways the way that we're looking at sales. It has changed the behavior of salespeople. In other words, educate your salesperson, your buyer on what needs to be done. And number two, make sure that you outline the impact. Now here's where we're going to see a very, meaningful difference in the sales process. If you go back 20, 30 years ago, customers were buying on what we would call budget. They had budget or not. And therefore, you had processes like BANT, and where the B stands for, does my client have budget? Now, that, is 20, 30 years ago. If we go back a little, about 10 years ago, 15 maybe, years ago, what we're looking at customers due to them, is this, does this, what I'm buying, is there a positive ROI? If I spend $100,000 on it, do I get $200,000 value on it? And if that's the case, then I got a form of an ROI. I spend 100, I get back 200. And in many cases in the world, when SaaS came about, we looked for what was referred to as a 10x ROI. You spend 10,000, but you save 100,000, or you spend 10,000, but you make an additional 100,000. That's a positive ROI. That's great, right? But then the problem occurred. And the problem occurred as follows. Every SaaS service, because by the nature of its sales, by the nature of it being a service, it essentially comes at the fraction of its predecessor, which was a perpetual form of a license. Now, perpetual form of a license was built on like a 2x, 3x value prop. We lowered the cost to about 10%. So if you previously were buying $300,000 worth of software, you can now buy the SaaS equivalent at $30,000 annually. That ROI is huge. And every SaaS service has that in common. Whatever SaaS service you buy for $10,000, $20,000, $4,000 a month, a quarter, a year, whatever it is, the ROI automatically is 10x. And therefore, no longer can we buy on an ROI. No longer can we help a customer buy on an ROI. No longer can we help a customer buy against budget. These things don't matter. Today, a buyer buys 50 to 100 SaaS services every year. And therefore, what we got to help the customer with is not buy on do you have budget, not help them to establish that budget, not help them to establish the ROI. What we got to help them establish, is this a priority? Do I need this right now? Now, that thought, help your customers to buy against priority, is the key understanding that we need to help, in this case, seller organizations to make that switch. Priority is not something that's static. A buyer doesn't wake up one morning and go like, okay, the priority for this service right now is maximum, therefore I need it immediately. No, priority fluctuates. Priority can come in by, if you're helping a customer buy an applicant tracking system, then the priority for that is at its maximum when you need to hire as many people, let's say the first month of January, because then you have to most people start, and therefore it makes the most amount of sense. If that priority changes and fluctuates later on because you have fulfilled those hiring requirements, and therefore 3 months, 6 months later, you're not hiring, then there is no priority for the applicant tracking system. That doesn't mean that you don't still need it for when it comes back up, 2 months later and you hire one, the priority drops again and it fluctuates, it goes up and down. That is the understanding that you as a seller need to help your buyer with. Now, due to recent circumstances, we find ourselves here in the middle of 2020. This has brought on an additional requirement that sellers need to learn. We now know, number one, it's not about selling, it's about the buying process. We now know that. Number two, when you engage in that buying process and help your customers to buy, what we are looking at is what is the requirement that you're buying against. Are you buying against budget? No. Are you buying against ROI? No. You're helping the customer buy against priority. And what we now see today is that there's also a very important requirement in timing. How quickly can you respond to the client needs? Now, historically, we have been able to help clients respond very quickly, right? We thought that quick was, I'll develop a custom proposal for you in the next couple of days, or I get you a quote done, by tomorrow. What today's buyers, when they're buying impact, what they want is they want it now. They want to have I can't wait for you to develop a proposal over the next 7 days. Send me your draft proposal right now and let's edit it together. Let's do it now. I don't want to wait for a quote in, later on today. I want to go to a website. I want to click buy right now. Everything in time has significantly improved. And there you have the changes that have occurred, the challenges that you have to overcome. And I'll outline them one more time. First and foremost, it is not about the selling, it's about the buying process. Help your buyer to buy because they hate being sold. Number two, make it about impact, not about value. Impact is they want to buy something that immediately can impact them. That impact in generally previously was measured as a 10x. You have to realize that that impact when you're helping your customer to buy no longer is based on budget, no longer is based on ROI, but is based on priority. Next, when we're looking at priority, when they want to buy something, they want to buy it at speed. They don't want to wait for your proposal next week or next month, or they don't want to wait even sometimes for today. They want it now. So if you have a proposal, which normally takes a week to develop, that proposal should be delivered today. If you send a quote, which normally is done in 24 hours, that quote needs to be done in an hour. Everything needs to be done faster and more immediate. And Will, those are some of the changes that I want to highlight to your audience, and as they learn more about, selling and what has changed.
Fantastic, Jacco. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm sure that our audience are going to find a lot of value from what you've brought us through today. Thank you.
Great. What I would encourage the audience, if they want to learn more, to go to our YouTube channel. It's simple, youtube.com/winningbydesign. Learn there more. As you can tell, we're very passionate about sales, marketing, and customer success, and we bring all that together on our YouTube channel.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jacco.